5 AWS projects that will help or get you hired, right? So there are lots of things that is happening in the cloud space now. And then having certifications alone is not enough. You just have to be sure that when they give you an assignment, when they give you a task to do, you have the confidence to implement it. So in this video, I just have 5 projects that I'm going to walk all of us through that we can implement. One key thing is I've already implemented most of this on the channel. I'll do all to leave the link to the videos in the description and then in the comment section. Check them out, build them, and then you're going to learn a great ton of things from them. If you have questions whilst implementing any of them, just let me know and then we'll get right to it. So why this matters is this. You see, now certification alone aren't enough. Yeah, to be frank with you, there are lots of comments where people encourage all of us to work on certifications and all, which is great. Yes, I have a couple of them. It helps you so much, sometimes even in landing jobs and all that. But what you have to understand is certification alone now doesn't prove anything, right? Because honestly speaking, AWS certifications are very expensive to begin with, especially from those of us that are not in the US and all that, where you have to pay around $300 for professional and specialty certifications, and then paying I think about $150 for your associate level certification. It's a bit expensive. So what you can't do, especially when you are studying AWS, is to gamble with your set preps. What you end up doing is that you always focus a lot on the theory side of things, focusing more on practice exams than the actual hands-on skill, right? Mostly people tell us to focus on the hands-on. But honestly speaking, if you have your $300 in waiting, that is, you are using your $300 to go and prep for a certification. I know very well it's very difficult to just go to the console and build stuff which you are not assured that you are going to be meeting the exams. But rather, if you have a bit confidence that if you focus on the certification, the exams perhaps the practice exams, you are going to get it. So it's easier said than done when it comes to focusing on hands-on. But this project that you are going to build, it's not just going to do that. It's going to deliver and then give you the actual skill you need, right, as an AWS person. And then these are already fully deployed, fully built and everything. I have the code and everything really available on GitHub. You can do well to check them out. So let's just jump right into it. Now, the first one we are going to build, one thing I want you to know is don't look at the topic of the project. It's what makes the project up that is very important. The first one we are going to build is something we call API PDF to audio converter, right? Again, don't focus so much on the topic. If you look at the topic, you might think this is a very minimal project. No. You see, the tools and the things that we implement in these projects are very important to the point that these are the things that we do in the role as cloud engineers, right? So the first one, PDF to audio converter, using services like Amazon Poly, SCS for notification, Lambda function, this is a serverless implementation, S3 for storage, and an API gateway. So the solution is we work over a couple of things like event-driven architectures, and then you learn how to use pre-signed URL. We are working with Lambda functions where we use Lambda functions to extract our text, right? You work with Poly. Poly is a tool that converts your text into audio and an SES. But again, we are not looking at the individual service. The collection or bringing these services together is what is very important. So by the end of it all, you are going to learn how to build event, right, driven serverless architectures, which is one of the most in-demand patterns that you ever see. Now, almost all the solutions built that you see around are heavily event-driven. Let me perform an action and then this happens. So by the end of this implementation, you are going to be able to understand some of these things, and then you are going to know how to work with SES. You are going to understand how to work with Lambda functions. You are going to understand how to work with Poly, how to play with that, and then you can make a lot of customizations on your own. And the good thing is all these things are free build. It doesn't cost much, or pretty much it costs no cost free here for you to work on this implementation as at the time of recording this video. Yeah. So the second one I'm going to talk about is this: a serverless feedback app with a bit of CI/CD. This is very, very important. Again, this also covers most of the things that you need. Forget the topic, right? Forget it. Or you are not seeing a fancy application like say WhatsApp or anything like nothing of that sort. But these things that you are going to learn in here are things that comes together to build some of these things. So this is a production ready form that is automated with deployment stuff. We have some GitHub actions in there where after pushing your code, it goes into this GitHub actions has a bit of a little pipeline that triggers it, deploy your form and all that. At the end of it, you're going to be working with Lambda functions, SES again, S3, CloudFront, and a couple of things. This is also important because you see things like DynamoDB, CloudFront, and GitHub actions are very, very important, right? Especially since you are trying to automate most of our workload. CloudFront bringing your application to a global front, and then DynamoDB being a database. You will understand how all these pieces comes together, and it's going to be a great thing for you to do. Yes. Now the next video I'm going to talk about is going to be this: a serverless REST API with authentication. In fact, if there is one of the videos that you would have to implement, if you are not implementing, or if I'm to choose one out of all these 5, which I would advise that you implement, this is going to be the one. This has a lot of the patterns that you do now, right? So this is not just a mere implementation. This is a serverless REST API with authentication. In fact, I think this was requested by one of my subscribers, and then I decided to implement it for the person, right? What you're going to learn is how to use Lambda function, API gateway, Amazon Cognito, DynamoDB, IAM, right? So this covers most of the things. You are building a fully authenticated Node API, right? Where people can actually sign up, people can verify their email, they can log in, they can perform some crowd operations, and then you are going to integrate JWT tokens and all that into it. Your API gateway is going to be secured. This, you can't do away with this, right? Especially if you're a cloud engineer who is more into the infrastructure side of things, who builds APIs, who work on backend stuff as a cloud engineer and all that. This is something that you have to go with. And not just cloud engineers, if you're a dev person that wants to use AWS to deploy your backend and all stuff, this is a very good one for you to check out. Yes. You see, what it matters is this. You see, the components, as I said, Amazon Cognito for your full auth flow. Your full authentication flow is being implemented by Amazon Cognito. And then we have JWT validations, right? That is how to pass those tokens, how to handle them. And then I talk a little bit about IAM list privilege, how to use that, how to set up your permissions and user scope data, and a couple of things in there. This is a very great project that you can check out. I would really, really advise you do that and then implement it. Everything is in depth. I think even for this video, I did break it down into series, like a 3-part series, and I have a complete video too of the same thing on the channel. So yes, I'll do all to leave the links to all of them in the description. Kindly do all to check them out. If you are new here too, please do all to like, subscribe, and then leave a comment. If you have areas that you want me to record a video on, just let me know and I'll just write into it. Yep. So this is why the project I just discussed matters, right? Auth is everywhere, serverless backend core, IAM best practices, and things like that. Now the 4th one, although this is common, right? I'm sure definitely if you're looking for AWS projects, you've come across this. But the way you do it is what brings the relevance of it. So this is hosting your static web application on AWS, right? So I have a project where I talk about how you're going to do it and then doing it in the right way. And it just don't end there. I proceed to do a bit of GitHub actions where you're not just manually uploading stuff into S3 or using a CLI to copy it into S3, but rather what we do is, after doing that, we have a GitHub workflow where we push our code to our own GitHub repo, and then it automatically deploys it into our S3 bucket, right? This is one of the patterns that you do often. In fact, a lot of people don't know this, so mostly they do it and they manually do it. But after establishing this and then deploying whatever application you want to deploy, you realize that this comes in handy very, very much in your place of work as a cloud engineer and all that. So you're going to learn how to work with S3 buckets, caching validation from CloudFront, and a couple of things. So this also is a great deal to have. It matters because you see, this is one of the fastest things that you can build. And in fact, you have to understand how this works. It's one of the common stuff solution that as a cloud person coming up, you have to really, really understand. So you can't just dog it. And then proceeding to add the GitHub action workflow to it also make it super. Probably one of the best when it comes to these videos on YouTube. That's the comment section. So let's move on. Now, the 5th one. The fifth one is one of the videos that is most dear to me. You can't miss this one. You see, building an AI powered helpdesk with Amazon Bedrock Connect, a bit of OpenSearch serverless behind the scenes and Lambda functions, right? So this is a bit geared towards contact center solution, right? One of the growing domains in AWS is those who have CX experience, they're able to build customer experiences and all that. And then there's a good project that covers a lot of things from Amazon Lex to Amazon Connect to Bedrock to this. Yes, I would really, really admonish everyone to do that. So what we are doing is we are uploading, we are learning a bit about Amazon Connect. We are creating a virtual assistant agent, right, which has intents and all that, and then we are integrating it with Bedrock, having an AI, more like an AI agent in there that allows people to come in into their questions, they answer it, and then what that. Those two, the Bedrock component and the legs are be tied together using OpenSearch and a couple of things. And then if you implement this, this is going to be a very, very great build for whoever is building this project. So I'd really, really admonish you check this one out. Why it matters is you see, Connect is one of the most fastest growing skill in the business as 2025, right? And then this is an enterprise grade architecture. These are real stuff that we build, right? As a cloud engineer, these are some of the real stuff that I build. So I really, really would want you guys to have those skills. Go in there. And as I said, everything that you need to implement this is ready available on the channel. Just go into it, log down, log in, and then just keep pushing it. And then you're really, really going to love all these things, right? So these are four key projects that I would want all of us to, sorry, five projects that I would want all of us to build in the coming weeks. Go in there and then let me know if you have questions. Just drop them in the comment section. Do all to like, share, drop your comments, and then be part of this whole journey. Right? I have a lot of tutorials in on the way, and then there are some too on the channel that haven't even mentioned. So it will be good that you go through the channel, get all those videos, and let's just get right into it. So yeah, so you can pretty much follow this. This is a pattern that mostly I use. You can follow through this and then build it per this pattern. But regardless of which one you start with, they are all independent. You can proceed with that, and then you are going to love building it. Let's meet in the next video, and thank you so much for watching. My name is Kobina. This is Tech with Kobina, learning cloud the right way, especially in this era of AI. There are lots coming up for you guys. Don't miss out. Let's meet. Bye.